start, please just be aware that some of the topics in our talk will possibly cause some upset and discomfort. Hi everybody, my name's Mary and I'm a Year 9 student at Eirias. Today, for the next few minutes, we're going to talk to you about the word stigma. Have you ever heard of the word stigma? If you haven't, let me break it down for you. Stigma is a negative attitude or idea that results in social scrutiny towards a person or a group based on mental, physical or social differences. Our talk will explore a range of different stigmas that we have either personally faced or are passionate about. We will also explore how our current selves have been affected and how being stigmatised has impacted our futures too. The aim of this talk is to bring awareness to the stigmas that everyone can face so that we can start moving towards a society where everybody can be accepted regardless of their differences, disabilities or background.
My big issue is the stigma around bullying. Bullying is intentionally and repeatedly causing distress or harm to some individual. So why is bullying bad, you ask? In 2017, a university survey revealed astonishing bullying facts about primary and high school students. 73% reported they had been bullied at school. 44% occurred within 30 days of the survey. 88% were called mean names or were made fun of in a harmful way. 77% were excluded from school groups. 1 in 5 was threatened with a weapon at school. 70% of students reported they had been witnessed bullying. Just think about the first fact again. 73% reported they had been bullied at school. That is 730 students in a school of 1,000 students. Bullying causes depression, low self-esteem, a lifetime of withdrawal, loneliness and suicide. Students do not feel safe in school. Why would you want to make someone feel like this? It also causes physical symptoms of stress like lack of sleep, stomachache and vomiting. The reason this means a lot to me because I was bullied in primary school. This is an age that I was supposed to be happy, supposed to be playing, supposed to be free. Instead I was bullied for how I looked. Why does it matter how I looked? Why doesn't it matter about what is inside? Am I not good enough? This is the result of me not wanting to go to school. How is that fair? I think we need to stop judging others based on our differences. We need to bring awareness to inclusivity and kindness. We need to remove the stigma around surrounding differences and celebrate them instead. We need to teach children from a young age that bullying is not okay. We need to stop it before it causes serious harm to our next generation.
My biggest issue is mental health and the long wait. My biggest issue is the mental health and the long waiting list for people. Mental health can range from anxiety to depression, all the way to serious things like suicide. 700,000 people commit suicide every year. There are already figures suggesting that over 523,000 people have already committed this year. It's only July. Many of these people have been on a waiting list for over 2 years. For example, CAMS. This is not good enough. The reason why people commit suicide for the range is depression, family issues, being bullied for race, LGBTQ, and for being themselves. And that's only the beginning. There is a stigma that prevents people from getting help, a stigma that if we talk about, we will make it worse, a stigma that is shameful to have poor mental health, but this stigma has caused suicide to be the leading cause of death in students ages 11 to 18. 1 in 10 students self-harm. This is on average 3 every class of 30. 270,000 students are on the waiting list for self-harming. 100,000 students are on the waiting list for CAMS for suicide attempts. Those students can be your friends, family, or someone you're sitting next to right now. It could be Bob. Every time you think about saying something mean to someone, or you stigmatise them for having mental health issues, just think about 1 in 10 students. I would like the stigma around mental health to stop. We need to make sure people can get help, and what they don't have to suggest for over 2 years alone. If you had an infection or a broken arm, the doctor would help you and it would be supported. How is mental health any different? It is not. Just because you can't see mental health, it does not mean that it's not there or unless serious. Stop the stigma.
My big issue is around disabilities. 11% of children in the UK have a physical or mental disability. 351,000 of those children have a learning need. You may not notice, but I have a disability. I have a left-sided weakness. I was diagnosed with cerebral palsy just shortly after my first birthday. We don't know how it happened or why it happened, and I don't know any different. And my disability hasn't stopped me from participating in school activities like completing my Bronze Duke of Edinburgh Award and the Sports Day. It's quite common that for my disability I get told to have a head start in PE possibly by teachers who don't know about my capability, and it gets me down quite badly because even though I'm not able-bodied, I want to be treated like that, and because it makes me feel like I don't have a say in what I do, and I want to have a say in what I do. And I only want help when I ask for it. What if I wanted to be treated equally? I would like to encourage acceptance by others for those who experience differences, physically and emotionally, and all of them to feel included in school life and beyond. Everybody should have equal opportunities, and I think that society needs to work towards this by reducing the stigma of having disabilities. How do we fix Bob?
My big issue is the stigma around differences, specifically the negative stigma around members of the LGBTQ+ community. And my talk will cover the outright discrimination that members of this community face, as well as the passive and almost subconscious thoughts and feelings that I'm sure everyone in this room has felt at some point. And one of the major points of this is the fact that people aren't doing anything to help or prevent this at all. Especially with some incredibly influential people like the American government actively supporting this negative stigma, with passing almost 1,000 anti-LGBTQ+ bills in 2023 to 24 alone, and the latest of this being passed to even as close as June 19th of this year. And on April 23rd of 2024, a 37-year-old transgender woman named Andrea Poulos was stabbed and killed outside of the Miami Ballet building in what was later discovered as a plain and simple brutal act of hate. What did she do to deserve this? Was she free to live her life without the fear of being hurt or in the end killed? Of course not, and I'm sure you will agree. And this issue is incredibly important to me as I am personally affected by this stigma and have witnessed its incredibly detrimental effects firsthand. This needs to change. It needs to stop, and I want the right to live my life how I want, without the fear of ending up the same. And to me, the best way to change this in a society where we are so focused on changing physically, if that's political or technological advancements, why aren't we focusing the same on people? Why are people not able to do this themselves? Because people cannot. People need the help of others. They need the connection to people, and they need to talk about it. And just like Bob.
My big issue is racism within communities and sports. Racism is intentionally discriminating an individual or community based on their skin colour and race. 43% of hate crimes reported were related to race. Racially motivated crimes released 19% in 2022. In 2022, there were over 155,000 racially motivated crimes. Vinicius Jr., Marcus Rashford, Raheem Sterling and Jadon Sancho have all experienced racism in their sport. As of this, they have all suffered with poor mental health and depression. Why should they be a victim of this for just doing their job? Why should anyone be a victim for living their life? They shouldn't. There should only be a society with zero tolerance to racism. Whilst I have not experienced racism or cannot claim how it is to feel to be discriminated against, I do know it is wrong. I do know that nobody should be put in a position where they feel that they don't belong. I do know the stigma needs to be broken, and I do know that it's simply not fair. We need to stand together and make a change.
My big issue is the stigma around family issues. Family issues can be anything from bereavements, trauma with family, parental separation, or even financial troubles. 48% of all children born today will not be living with both birth parents by the time it's their 16th birthday. That's nearly half. Does this matter? Surely it doesn't have that much impact on the child, right? Wrong. Estimates suggest children from divorced parents have an 8% lower probability of completing high school, a 12% lower probability of college attendance, and an 11% lower probability of college completion. There is not enough support or even acknowledgement of what a traumatic loss for a divorce can be for a child. Whatever the reasons for the split, there are usually feelings of grief, sadness, anger, betrayal, guilt and shame. Emotional and behavioural difficulties in children are more common when their parents are split up. My parents split up when I was 2.5. I'm now 14. My family still have arguments to this day, and this is something what really affects me. No family is perfect, but yet society makes us feel like they have to be. Many studies found that children with divorced families experience lower levels of well-being regardless of great achievements, conduct, psychological development and self-esteem. How is this fair? Where's our support? We need to spread awareness about this stigma. We need more support to prove that traumas do not have to impact our future. There are numbers we can call and people we can speak to, but why aren't these networks advertised? Why are we stigmatising these issues and hiding away this support? It is not right.
You may have seen throughout this talk, this is Bob. Throughout, we've been crumpling him and all sorts. I'll ask you a question. Do you think simply saying sorry will solve these crumples, straighten him out to how he should be, or was? So why do we think that saying sorry to a person will make it any better? Well, okay, sorry. I will ask you a question. How will you think that we straighten Bob out? Any ideas? Exactly. The trauma and stigmas will always be there and will stay with him forever. And simply saying sorry is not enough. Society needs to change so these crumples and these creases are never made in the first place. And we thank you for listening.